really him. You're a victim.
Here we go, CSI.
This was better with the commentary. I appreciate that. So that's a bad place. First segment then. This is my video. Hi. I'm covering a comment that was made. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, no, there. Thought my dad was coming in through the door. He'll probably be here soon. I'm gonna probably sign off after this one. Anyway, I'll probably be back on later tonight, run some Tekken games, but I just gotta make sure the house is in good order for him because he always bitch about that. But okay, we're gonna dive into the last one. Do you think Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, Shelby Steele, Larry Elder, and Jason Riley are or were also anti-black? I said sometimes, yes, sometimes. What makes them anti-black? They all encourage personal responsibility. They all want less government interference in everyone's lives. I said I'm going to use your comment and reply to it on stream if you don't mind. I don't think whatever I write here could do it justice. He said, do what you got to do. Sounds like all you're going to do is call them Uncle Toms, which is basically what you called Candace. Candace is an Uncle Tom. Candace is a race trader. I've gone over this multiple times. Doubt you would say anything negative about Shelby Steele's character to his face, would you? What if Tucker had you on for an interview one day? Would your intro be, man, I fucking hate white people and men like you? Good luck building bridges like that, but I doubt that's what your motivation or goal is anyway. My goal is to make you think about everything that you've ever had to think about in your entire life through a different lens. It is not currently the correct lens. No, it is never that. And I'm not a both sides type of person. I just want you to see that sometimes people with very negative viewpoints on the world get a very big seat at the table, and it's very hard to unpack what they say because it's hard to come at every single angle of what they've said without losing yourself in the argument and then either falling for it or becoming a victim to just hating it blanketly. I want to break it down. I want to shift your paradigm. So, to this chatter, to this commenter. Okay. We're going to do this step by step. But before we go into these 5 people, what makes them anti-black? They all encourage personal responsibility. They want less government interference in everyone's lives. Mainly black people. That ignores the socioeconomic disparity between how we left black people at the end of slavery and at the end of Jim Crow, and completely says it's just up to you now. And it completely absolves any actual racism. And when I say any actual racism, I'm not talking about just systemic racism. It absolves racist people who are not openly racist wherever they are. They'll say the N-word at the holiday barbecue, but they generally won't do anything worse than that outside of that, right? These people have positions of power, whether it be in government, whether it be in local office, whether it be in your neighborhood, whether it be at your shop, your garage. They generally think of black people as less than, even if they wouldn't go out of their way to lynch one. They have these preconceived biases about them, and they have the positions of power to delegate what rules should be set for certain types of people, even if they don't explicitly say it. You know, I'll tell you, you should do this to this group of people. You know who I'm talking about, right? Those type of people. That racism is so embedded in our system, and I've done already a huge set of segments today on it, so far much that I'm not going to go into it again today. Just please watch the videos that I upload from today's segment, today's segments, today's stream, and you will get it. Do what you got to do. Sounds like all you're going to do is call them Uncle Toms. No, I just explained what that is, and most of these people have made excuses for it, and we're going to go very quickly into each one because I'm not going to spend time doing historical research on that. Which is basically what you call Candace. No, she's just anti-black. That's it. She's just anti-black. Anti-black current society. She finds no fault in any action of any oppressive system. She thinks it's all made up in our heads, and it's for a democratic voting machine. She echoes the same right-wing talking points that Ben Shapiro does, that Stephen Crowder does, the most popular people. She rarely has a position that deviates from any of that. And whenever she's been put in the debate room, she has never been able to answer the questions directly outside. And I've already done multiple segments, and I did an entire dissertation on how Candace Owens' positions directly do not correlate with her stance on issues, because if they did, then you would care more about the other side of the argument and not just simply narrative, as one chatter already put down here. So, no. Doubt you would say anything negative about Shelby Steele's character to his face, would you? If I got the chance to debate Shelby Steele, I'm sure there'd be a moderator and I would be able to execute my points. What if Tucker had you on for an interview one day? Tucker will never have me on an interview because Tucker knows that I'm going to sit there and literally actually debate him and not be interviewed. Like, what questions are you going to ask me? Are you going to ask me real questions that I'm going to be able to respond to? Or are you going to actually ask me things that actually have substance to them? Things like that. Probably not. Would your intro be, man, I fucking hate white people and men like you? I said that in this video. That would not be my intro on a live television show. There's a different way you carry yourself on live TV as opposed to a Twitch stream. And if you can't tell the difference between that, then you really have to look at Candace Owens' profile, her Twitter page, her social media, and decipher whether or not I'm bullshitting you because she does the same thing because everybody does the same thing. Fucking moron. Now, I'm not calling him a moron. Again, he's just expressing his opinion, but fuck, man. So dumb. Any of what you just said. Good luck building bridges like that. The man just literally went on a tirade. Tucker Carlson literally went on a white replacement theory tirade. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? What do you want from me? You want me to be civil with the guy? I could be civil with him in a television, but I will spot out the immediate racism and be like, hey, why'd you say that? I might not be as aggressive or abrasive, but why'd you say that? I'm not going. And you've seen him when he gets challenged. He does his Joker laugh. That was actually a perfect one. I want quotes on that. And then dismisses it, and then cuts the interview short. So, let's go into this really quickly. This is why I also want to show you guys. The reason why I'm making this a segment is because I want to show you that I don't just base my opinions on the reactions of fucking social media. I spend my time, sadly, and I go through this to make sure my responses are proper, at least not talking from a point of ignorance. Okay, Riley's a senior fellow at Manhattan Institute, has appeared on Journal Other Report, other Fox News programs, and C-SPAN. Excuse me. Riley is the author of 4 books. In 2008, he published Let Them In, The Case for Open Borders, which argues for a more free market-oriented or immigration system. The Amazon social catalog is like Goodreads states that in lucid jargon-free prose, Riley takes the most common anti-immigrant complaints, including claims that today's immigrants are overpopulated in the United States, steal jobs, don't assimilate, and pose an undue threat to homeland security. Good. That's good. Awesome. So why would I have a problem with Jason Riley? In 2014, Riley published Please Stop Helping Us, How Liberals Make It Harder for Blacks to Succeed. The book was praised by Thomas Sowell, of course, of National Review, who wrote, pick up a copy and open pages at random to see how the author annihilates nonsense. Describe one chapter as thoroughly misinformed, which not only tries out the usual inaccuracies about hip-hop's influence, but failing to recognize the diversity of African-American cultures, concedes the libel the entire group. In his 2017 book, False Black Power, Riley argues economic success is a more important strategy for empowering black people than dependence on political leadership. That's correct. That's correct. The American left should start paying attention to Wall Street Journal's Jason Riley. His name is on the rise. Okay, whatever that fucking mean. Black conservatism in the United States. Okay, so this is the whole thing here. So I don't even have to look at these because if they're all under the same... Okay, Black Lives Matter. Larry Elder, Black Lives Matter is built on a lie. We're not watching that. Shelby Steele. The Enduring Power of White Guilt. Oh, we got to look this one up. Steele wrote a short book about man why we're excited about Obama and why he can't win. Is a man bound man to his black identity. It claimed its subtitle was a marketing device motivated by the publisher, which he came up with in about 30 seconds. He explains Obama's victory by likening him to Louis Armstrong, who donned the bargain as matters as bid for white acceptance. As an analysis, he takes whites who he claims for decades have been stigmatized as racist and had to prove they are not off the hook. White Americans made tremendous moral progress since the 60s, and they've never given themselves credit for that. And here's an opportunity to at last document this progress. Wow, okay, no. What killed Michael Brown? Race relations. Okay, I'm gonna have to read some of his stuff here. Honestly, I'm gonna have to read some of his stuff here. It doesn't seem like he's off by a mile. Thomas Sowell, I literally dove into this last night when I saw this comment. Sowell thinks that systemic racism and untested questionable hypothesis is a piece of propaganda pushed on the American people. Sowell has said that it really has no meaning and can be specified and tested in the way that one tests hypothesis. And it's one of many words that I don't think even the people who have used it have any idea clear of what they're saying. I've explained that on the stream, and I'm literally a small fish, so there's no way I'm missing the mark here. He has argued that it is a propaganda tactic akin to those used by Joseph Goebbels because it comes with an attitude that must be repeated long enough and loud enough until his believing people cave into it. And several of his works, including the economics and blah, 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 Sowell challenges the notion that black progress is due to progressive government programs. He claims that many problems identified with blacks in modern society are not unique, neither in terms of American ethnic groups, nor in terms of rural proletariat struggling with disruption as it became urbanized, as discussed in Black Rednecks and White Liberals. Sowell also writes on racial topics, typically criminal of affirmative action and race-based quotas. He takes strong issue with the notion of government as a helper or savior of minorities, arguing that the historical records show quite the opposite. Affirmative action around the world, intellectuals and race. Sowell argues that intelligence quotient gaps are hardly startling or unusual between and within action groups. He wrote the 15-point similar to that national average. In a town hall editorial titled "The Bush Legacy," Sowell assessed President George W. Bush as a mixed bag but an honorable man. Sowell was strongly critical of Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump and officially endorsed Ted Cruz. However, he indicated he voted in the general election against due to fears about the appointments Clinton would possibly make to the Supreme Court. In 2020, Sowell wrote that if Democratic when it was a signal point of no return for the United States, a tipping point in Canada's fall of the Roman Empire. In July 2020 stated the Roman Empire overcame many problems in its long history, but eventually reached a point where it could no longer continue on, and much of that was from within, not just the barbarians attacking from outside. Sowell ruled that if Biden became president, the Democratic Party would have a huge amount of control over the country, and if this happened, they could twin with the radical left, and ideas such as defunding the police can come to fruition. Oh, God, he thought Donald Trump was better than Barack Obama. What's tragic is there's so many people out there who simply respond to words, ask themselves, what is that person says is true? How can I check it? And so on. A month later, Sowell again defended Trump against media charges racist, stating, I've seen no hard evidence, and unfortunately living in a time where no one expects hard evidence. He just repeats some familiar words, and people react pretty much that way Pavlov's dog was conditioned to react to certain sounds. Holy shit. Holy shit. Subtext. So the guy's powerful, but misses the subtext. Again, black conservatism isn't a thing that like needs to be attacked. It's fine. It's one of the main characteristics of black conservatism, emphasis on personal choice and responsibilities above socioeconomic status, institutional racism. In the tradition of African American politics and intellectual life, black conservatives tend to side with Booker T. Washington, as contrasted with W.E.B. Du Bois. For many black conservatives, the key mission is to bring repair and success to the black community by applying the following fundamental principles. So this is where I'll end the segment, because I've already debunked that whole shit. The pursuit of educational and professional excellence as a means of advancement within a society. Great. Address that by literally saying, hey, don't make schools or areas funded by property taxes, and then expect like great things to come out of it. That's easy. Policies that promote safety and security in the community beyond the typical casting of a criminal as a victim of societal racism. This does not happen. 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 I know what it's being said, but I have to disagree with it. Policies that promote safety and security in the community beyond the typical casting of a criminal as a victim of societal racism. In other words, don't focus on rehabilitating. Focus on making the personal choice not to do the criminal act, which again I've already discussed when like we had this discussion on a huge Facebook thread. That wouldn't work if I'm telling you that the community is its way because there's lack of resources, and if everybody just stopped doing it tonight, you would see more extreme poverty, and you still wouldn't see a push into white America. I've already made that case a long time ago. Okay. I'm not using the lens of race in the country's history. Discrimination is justification for not excelling to the best of your abilities. Okay, we've heard that repeated over and over again. Again, I could have been shot dead, and I'm literally living to excelling to the best of my abilities. So what is that? The system? A bad cop? Like, why would he think he has that ability? Which goes into the entire idea of how police think. And if one police officer who's retired thinks that, imagine how active officers on the force do. Even if all of them don't agree with it, all it would take was one person to be able to eschew that identity to everybody, and maybe he tells a bunch of people, go out and shoot whoever you can, blah blah blah. I guess in personal responses, you can't always say, well, the system's holding me down. But I can make a general case that most people try to break into the industry do fail due to the system. Like, that's just obvious, you know? If Medicare and food stamps aren't replying to your phone calls and making you jump through hoops for documents that you don't have, you will say more often than not, hey, could you steal this for me? Or maybe I should just go in there and take the bread. Who's it really going to hurt? Who's the bottom line? Who's really getting hurt here? Blah, blah, blah. Local economic development through free enterprise rather than looking to the federal government for assistance. It's bullshit. If the money's not in the community, you're gonna need a donor from somewhere. That's why donors exist. That's why corporate donations exist. That's why literal government corporate loans exist. Like, there's a system for this, but it's communism, corporate communism for the rich, rugged capitalism for the poor. Empowerment of the, but you know, I can agree to that one. That's not there's not much I disagree with. I just know how people have spun this to make it about today's issues, and I think that ideology falls apart very hard right here. Empowerment of the individual via self-improvement, virtue, conscience, and supernatural grace. Yeah, you know, agree. Clear. Agree. Black conservatives typically oppose affirmative action. They tend to argue that efforts to obtain reparations for slavery are misguided, self-critical, you know, more especially Black Republicans being Uncle Tom's. Ebony Arise did not include Thomas Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. The Economist described the exclusion of Justice Thomas for list as spiteful. Black conservatives favor integration of African Americans in the mainstream American, consequently disagree with Black nationalism and separatism. Black conservatives are more inclined to support economic policies promoting globalism, free trade, and tax cuts. Weird. 13.7, 14, less than 10% identifies Republican leaning. Again, difference between Republican and conservative. You can be conservative on the economy. You can't be conservative on human rights. And that's why a lot of Black people don't like being Republicans. You'll see more Black people take a conservative approach to life, which is fair. That's fine. That's a middle point. We can have conversations at that point. But a national election poll showed that support for California Prop 8, a state constitutional amendment defining marriage as an opposite-sex union, was strong against African-American voters. 70% of those interviewed in the exit poll, higher percentage stated they voted uphold by reporting support among Black voters to be around 70%. Historical basis from Reconstruction up until the New Deal, the Black population tended to vote Republican during that period. This is racially liberal, primarily because of the role of Southern Wing Democratic Party as a party of racial segregation. The Republican Party and abolitionist movements, the Dixiecrats. Blacks started to shift to significant numbers of the Democrats with the election of Franklin D. Roosevelt because, you know, he really did that shit. Delano Roosevelt. And continue with the election of John F. Kennedy, a shift was also influenced by Herbert Hoover's practice of firing loyal African Americans from positions within the Republican Party, and increases appeal to Southern white voters. That's considered to be an early example of a set of Republican Party methods that were later termed the Southern strategy. Remember, the Southern switch never happened. Okay, so we read it. Cool. So to reply to this person's comment, no, I wouldn't. I think they have some valid ideas. I think a few of their ideas are bad takes. Easy.